Hey everyone, welcome to Remap. My name is Jared, and today we're taking a look at the 2022 indie title Tunic by Isometricorp Games. I had never heard of Tunic before it was recommended to me by a friend, and after I saw it was included in my PS Plus subscription, I thought I'd pick it up for PlayStation 5. And at first glance, Tunic is a cute little action-adventure game where you play as a little fox. And I knew there were puzzles going into it, so I was just excited to go into it blind. Stepping into this, literally all I knew was the cover splash art and that it was an action-adventure puzzle game. And very quickly, I realized there was a lot more to it than just its cute facade. Tunic is an isometric game, which means that the camera is angled in a way that hides parts of the environment completely. Okay, this is much different from a traditional top-down or side view. This, coupled with some real meta gameplay mechanics, resulted in an experience I was not at all expecting, but one that I have plenty of thoughts on. This crazy camera angle, stuff is literally just hidden. To you, it might look like you're walking into a wall, but you're actually walking behind something. Really trippy, really cool the first time you see it. And I'm going to really try and keep spoilers as light as possible, but I'm going to have to spoil some game mechanics just to deliver this review. And I honestly recommend trying Tunic before listening to this review if it is a game that has been previously recommended to you, or if you've thought about playing it in the past. If you don't know anything about this game, please stick around for this review. But if you've heard someone tell you, hey, try this game, it's neat, just go play it before listening to this review, because seeing everything for the first time is really interesting. But as always, before we get started, these are my opinions and mine alone. So starting off with the graphics, Tunic, it truly is a beautiful game. Okay, it feels like a modern adaptation of an older Legend of Zelda title. Those visuals, real bright, clear colors, coupled with geometric shading, creates a world that was what got me hooked on the game early on. And there's a real surprising amount of variety to explore and discover visually. The moment I finally got used to the bright forests I started in, I ended up in some sandy beaches or dark and foreboding underground quarry. And the enemy variety in these locations is also really great, with each enemy type being visually distinct as well as mechanically unique. And I'm not going to get into specifics to keep some of the suspense if you're playing it, but there are some truly jaw-dropping visual moments. If you've played the game, and I'm just going to say if you get to the end of the quarry, you'll know what I'm talking about. And Tunic also leans into the puzzle mechanics with their visuals. Certain areas are pitch black that you can only navigate with a lantern that you find partially through the story. And the isometric mechanics with the camera are just a fun mechanic. I know I mentioned it earlier. I'll go through an entire dungeon segment to get to a new location, only to find out that I could have skipped this whole dungeon and just gotten to my goal just by ducking behind a tree that didn't look like there was a path there. I never found these discoveries frustrating. And it was probably one of my favorite parts of the game, discovering these things, having that light bulb moment of just, oh, wow, that's so cool. Really, really one of the highlights of the game, if not the highlight. And Tunic also has a wonderful soundtrack to accompany your journey. Life-formed, captured the emotions of exploring the world perfectly. None of the songs are, overly dramatic or distracting. They all really help drive this sense of discovery and wonder, which at the end of the day really felt like one of the core themes of the game to me. There's a lot that this game does thematically, but that real sense of discovery was just really, really big to me. It jumped off the screen. And now, moving on to the gameplay, Tunic contains really one of the coolest mechanics for an adventure/puzzle game I've ever seen. So, from the very beginning, you as the player will have access to a literal instruction booklet. Okay, think of the booklets you got 10 to 15 years ago during the Xbox 360 and PS3 era. The thick, full color booklets in the game case that had screenshots and guides to show you, the controls, mechanics, secrets, how to do this, what menus do that, what buttons are this, the real comprehensive booklet. And you literally have access to that whenever you click the PlayStation button in Tunic. But the gimmick is you're missing pretty much all of the pages, and you discover each of them as you play. It's a real meta way of explaining mechanics, but one of the most unique and honestly fun ideas that I've seen. It combines the tutorials, maps, secrets, lore, and so much more into one easy to access and easy to navigate location for the player. Often I'd be exploring the world, feeling like I was finally about to, hit a wall, hit somewhere I was going to be stuck, only to find a new page of the booklet that would teach me exactly what I needed to continue. I took it from a game design perspective as just a great way of pacing the game and the player and just their whole experience. Like I just said, whenever I got close to a wall, found a page, now I know how to do this. It really felt natural, and the game flowed really well to me. And honestly, between that and the visuals, it might be the highlight of Tunic for me. Just such a fun mechanic. And the rest of the gameplay, looking at actual controls, gameplay itself, it's very simple but solid. There's just a handful of customizable actions that you can do, which gives the player some freedom for how they want to play. And finding these new actions and abilities also allows you to backtrack and discover more things in areas you have already explored. It's a great feeling when that light bulb goes off for me and I realized, I just picked up this new item. Oh, I know it'll interact with something I saw an hour ago. Let's go back here and find what secret is behind this thing. The game flowed, paced really, really well to me overall. And I know you're probably sitting here listening to this. This has been a pretty flattering look at Tunic. Great visuals, great music, great design, great gameplay. I mean, you're probably excited to go play it right now. You're waiting for me to give it the A+. We're going home. It's done. But now I unfortunately have to talk about my two complaints with the game. Okay, my two big issues. Now, the first one is the difficulty. For some stupid reason, the developers of Tunic thought, hey, you know what people like? Souls-likes. Let's do that. I'll be honest, I would have not picked up Tunic if I knew this going in. The regular enemies are a pretty good challenge. They're not easy, but they're absolutely doable after a couple of tries. The bosses are they're a joke. Okay, if I knew about the difficulty of this game before I started playing it, I would have never started playing it. I don't like Souls-likes. I don't like that genre, and the fact that it was hidden behind this pretty facade of an action-adventure puzzle game really, really rubbed me the wrong way, okay? Because when I sit down to play some video games, I'm ready to relax, ready to have a fun time. There were multiple times where I was dreading playing Tunic, okay? I sat down and I'm just thinking like, I really don't want to play Tunic, but I'm this far in, I might as well tough it out. And it was just miserable for those few sessions because I knew all I would be doing would be dying for 15 minutes until I got so frustrated that I had to take a break. Tunic is not a long game. It's under 20 hours, but still took me weeks to play because I just couldn't sit down and play it for extended sessions like most games. I'd have a 2-3 hour segment of exploration, some puzzles, some combat, just a great fun time. And then the next week, 4 or 5 days out of the week would just be 15-minute sessions of getting so mad at a boss, have to put it down, have to go do something else, come back to it the next day. The cycle repeats until I finally defeated them. I feel that the difficulty completely changes my outlook on the game, which is really frustrating because I can't recommend it to as many people. That's why in the intro I said, hey, if this is a game that's been recommended to you, someone that's played it knows you'll be fine with the difficulty, because I can't just go around and say, hey, it's a fun little puzzle game, because no, if you don't have a certain amount of just ability with games, this thing's going to kick your ass. I mean, there's a reduced difficulty setting and some more options you can toggle, which I had to do for one of the fights, but it's very clear that Tunic was designed for the high difficulty, which was what I did not enjoy. And my second issue with Tunic, also somewhat related to the difficulty, was around the puzzles. Real minor spoilers ahead, but I do have to mention this. There are 2 endings, okay? A very unsatisfying ending that I got, and the true ending, the actual ending, what you're playing towards, okay? And, some games do this, some games don't, but Tunic blatantly says, hey, this is not the real ending when you don't get the true one. When I got to my ending, the game was very clear based off of, the instruction booklet, the credits, the messaging, what the actual ending was. It's like, hey, this wasn't the end of the story. You should go back and find the actual ending. Okay. Hey, great. Appreciate you being upfront with the player. Let's go find the real ending. The problem here is the true ending puzzle is the single most complicated, convoluted, and difficult challenge I have ever seen. Never in a million years would I have figured that out. Okay? Or much of the secret challenges and other puzzles that are hinted to late game. Once I finally decided, like, okay, I can't figure this out, I'm going to Google it. Reading through the wiki page of what the solution is, my jaw was on the floor. Okay? I mean, some may say both of these complaints are a skill issue on my part, which, valid, but it doesn't change the fact that I could not enjoy Tunic as much as I wanted to. Okay? My gameplay experience, I did not enjoy these 2 things one bit. I went in expecting something relaxing, and by the end, I wanted to chuck my controller, okay? So I'll only be recommending Tunic to very experienced players that have much more patience than I do. It wasn't until quite a few hours in until I realized how challenging Tunic was, so I don't want you making the same mistake that I did. And that's one thing that a lot of people may say to this is, hey, it's your fault that you went in with the expectations of the game that weren't really true. You put some false expectations on it. But those first hours of it, I mean, it gave me no hints to the true difficulty spike of the bosses until I hit that first boss quite a few hours in, which really, really frustrated me. And so overall, I'm going to be giving Tunic a B. it is a genuinely well-designed game that is a lot of fun with a lot of great mechanics. Hats off to the development team. Hats off to the music team. They really did a great job, but I personally hated the difficulty spikes. Okay, though that one singular game design decision, I hated so much. I think a B is as high as I can go. This is not a game I will be replaying. This is a game that I will be recommending to only a select number of people, but I do want to acknowledge it's pretty good. They did a good job at it. But that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. You've been listening to Remap, the gaming podcast. My name is Jared, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.